My name is Pam Parsons Dupuy. I am the sixth generation to live here. I did not grow up here. My husband and I have been living here and our dog Tatum for the last few years. In the past, as a child, it was so cool to come visit and explore everything. Although even now living here, I'm still like, wow, I didn't open that drawer. What's in that drawer? Many of my ancestors played a part in Monroe and Ouachita, Louisiana history. Judge Henry Bree arrived in Ouachita Parish in 1803, and he built a raised Louisiana cottage in 1814 here on this property. And then it just kind of kept going from there. First they built one piece, then they built another piece, and just kept getting bigger. Bree helped write and sign the first Louisiana Constitution. He played a huge role, actually, with the beginnings of Ouachita. In fact, he played a role in Monroe getting its name Monroe. In 1819, the first steamship arrived in Ouachita, the James Monroe. So Bree led a group down to the water to celebrate. He suggested, let's rename it Monroe. Fort Monroe is what it was called at the time. We have a really good and important archive. When you have a family that stayed put for 6 generations, there's a lot of material. Even renovating the place, the builders and the plumbers and everybody keeps discovering things too. And the archaeologist, Dr. George Avery's been over. He was busy setting up little digs and finding Native American materials and then European settler China and things like that. My mother's an art historian and has really retained this, particularly the historic parts of the house. The library started off as this long, dark hall. Mom remembers one light bulb hanging down. And grandmother decided to make it much smaller. She got Paul Stewart, a local architect, and a craftsman to design a pecan wood bookcase wall. And then my mother, 20 years later, came along and got the same architect, the same craftsman to do it on the other side of the wall. When people come to visit, they get to see what it was like in the late 1800s, early 1900s. I'm more of an infrastructure person, I think, so that's more been my focus. The roof came first, then we did the wine house. The wine house, Pigeonniere, is one of the oldest, if not oldest, brick buildings in North Louisiana. Most recently, we've been renovating 4 of the bottom floor apartments. Layton Castle has always hosted events and weddings and fundraisers and meetings. We also do a monthly public tour. And then we have Airbnbs. We have the carriage house. And then 1 or maybe 2 of the apartments we've just renovated will be available for Airbnb or small wedding events. I think what we're going to do is restore the ballroom and turn it more into a kind of a research center. I'd like it to be a public place that people can come. That's part of how it can contribute, is be kind of a museum for the history of the Monroe area, not just this place. Certainly the tower, that round turret there with the crenellation on top. Mom put that crenellation back on top. I wanted to share a little bit about my grandmother, Carol Flower Layton. First she studied, she went to New York and California to study dancing, and then she became a teacher and taught in New Orleans, she taught in Alexandria, and she taught here. So many generations of kids went up to the ballroom and she taught them ballroom dancing. I found all kinds of little snippets of articles about her doing that. She went to New York when she was young and tried to sort of break it in show business, and she was in a few plays. I got hold of some playbills, that she was in. And then I wanted to share a little bit about another woman who played an important role here. Her name was Annette Hawkins. I first heard about Annette when I was a child. Mom would point to the 4-poster bed that was her bed and said that used to belong to Annette, who used to be a slave and then stayed with the family after the Civil War. And I was always sort of curious about that. Who's Annette? Found out through the census her last name was Annette Hawkins. She became kind of a caretaker to generations of the family, but also this property. When she died, there were these long articles talking about her, how she looked after this place. So when I think about women in history in the castle, to me, she's very prominent.